Boys, what's good? It's Herm. Today we're here to talk about the Dallas Mavericks and Lauri Markkanen because the Mavs are reportedly interested in facilitating a sign-and trade with the Chicago Bulls in which the Mavs acquire Lauri Markkanen from Chicago. It's an interesting one for sure because you could argue that Lauri Markkanen is like a light version of Kristaps Porzingis, so what's the point of getting two of those guys on your team? But obviously getting guys that are that big and can shoot really well is a value, but there's going to be some defensive concerns. There's going to be some, post offense concerns because neither guy is really super interested in going down in the post and bruising it out and toughing it out with other guys like that. That's not really what either of them do. I think Lauri's a pretty decent post scorer, but it's not what he goes to often. So it's really interesting to think about what the Bulls could get in this trade. I saw Kenny on Twitter, King of the Fourth Quarter, trying to propose that they should get Dorian Finney-Smith, which is a deal we'll talk about, but I think that one's a little more unrealistic. And then I have a second trade that is more realistic, one that I think makes more sense for both sides, honestly. Maybe the Bulls don't like it as much, but I think it's one that makes sense. So before we get into it anymore, think about subscribing. It's free, it's easy. Join the content. You can always unsubscribe later. That's fine. We talk about trades, we talk about free agency, the draft, any NBA news, we're going to cover it. We're going to talk about it. So if you enjoyed that, think about sticking around. But let's get into this. Let's not waste time. So the Mavericks are interested in Lauri Markkanen in a sign-in trade. So one other team to watch for Lauri Markkanen is the Dallas Mavericks, per Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer. I've heard they also have interest, so there's some sign-and trade possibilities involving him with Charlotte, which we already talked about in another video, and with Dallas. I think it's a good destination for them, really. I like it. In his sophomore season, Markkanen averaged 19 and 9, but it seems to be an outlier. With last season, he averaged 14 and 5, but did shoot a career best 48% from the floor. His minutes dipped a little last season. They decided to go more with Thad Young a lot of the time, just because he's a better defender. He's more of an all-around player than Markkanen, but Markkanen has disappointed a little. His shooting numbers aren't always consistent, but is a guy at his ceiling, is a very, very good offensive player. Still going to struggle defensively, but a fantastic shooter and just a good bucket getter. So the first trade we're going to talk about, I don't think the Mavs have to add anything else. I think people don't understand the value of a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith. But the Mavericks receive Lauri Markkanen and the Bulls get Dorian Finney-Smith. The Bulls, while getting Lonzo and having Patrick Williams, they have a couple defenders on their team, but defense is still a very large concern with the Bulls. So getting a great wing defender in Dorian Finney-Smith, who's not a great offensive player, but they have enough offense now, they shouldn't be worrying about that too much. Finney-Smith is a guy that will lock down the best player on the other team, and would just be really, really impactful for them. Could start at the power forward spot, but if they're going to start Patrick Williams, they could bring Finney-Smith off the bench and would just lock other players down. Would be very helpful. The Bulls reportedly looking for a first-round pick in a deal for Markkanen, but if they could get Finney-Smith, I think they should be even happier with that because it fills one of the biggest needs on the team and just it helps them out a lot. For the Mavericks, a front court with Lauri Markkanen and Kristaps Porzingis is going to get eaten alive in the post because neither are great defenders. Like, if you have a good big man and you're playing against the Mavericks with Lauri and Kristaps Porzingis, you're going to torch them in the post. Like, it's not going to be good. But this Markkanen rumor comes on the heels of Mark Cuban, Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Kidd flying to Slovenia to offer Luka Doncic a 5-year, $207 million extension, the most that they can offer him. That is a super max contract for Luka, and with a player like him at the end of the day, you probably aren't concerned about a lot of things with your team just because Luka is that good, but it's tough because they're not surrounding him with pieces I think really make sense. Like, they need a true second option, which Porzingis at times looks like, but other times looks too streaky to be that for them, and I like Porzingis. Like, a lot of people think Porzingis isn't that good, but I think Porzingis is still a near all-star caliber player, a guy that can average 25 and 10 when he's healthy. That's a good player on your team. If Porzingis can get back to his top level, he's a good second option. If he can't, then he's not. But getting Lauri next to him feels a little redundant. I'm not sure if I love it, but with a guy like like Luka, like I said, I think you can kind of ignore a lot of that. But let's talk about a second trade I think makes more sense. So the Mavs get Lauri Markkanen, the Bulls get Trey Burke, they get Willie Cauley-Stein to be their backup big, and they get a lottery-protected first-round pick in 2024. The Bulls receive the first-round pick they're looking for, a good backup guard in Trey Burke, who's a pretty natural scorer. That's one where you have Kobe White already, right? So maybe the Bulls don't love getting Trey Burke, but you're not going to get a guy like Jalen Brunson. They're not going to offer you that. Maybe you get Josh Green instead as more of a backup shooting guard, because that would be a little bigger of a need for them, because at the two, in terms of backups, they only have Ayo Dosunmu at this point, who, while I think will have a good career, is very unproven. Was really good in college, but sometimes that doesn't mean they're going to be good in the pros. So maybe they'd be more interested in getting Josh Green. But with Willie Cauley-Stein, you get a good backup center, an athletic one, can come on in kind of that Montrezl Harrell role, where he comes on the floor, he just attacks the rim hard, he gets a lot of rebounds. Like, I don't think you need anything else from Willie Cauley-Stein outside of that. Being a rim runner, being a good rebounder, being a decent defender, like that's pretty solid. They just signed Tony Bradley to be their backup center, but he's pretty young as well. Hasn't proven himself a lot. In his minutes, I think Tony Bradley has looked really good, but Cauley-Stein could get in that center rotation as well, and they get the pick they're looking for. For the Mavs, you don't have to give up Finney-Smith. If you're getting a guy who's not very good defensively in Markkanen, to give up Finney-Smith, it feels like a disaster, right? Like, if you're getting Lowry, don't give up Finney-Smith. He's your best defender. He's probably your best post defender. He's your best wing defender. So to get Markkanen, who's bad at defense, and then to ship out your best defender feels like a really dumb idea. So I think keep Finney-Smith. That would be very helpful for them. So the Mavs with this could have a lineup of Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., Lauri Markkanen, and Kristaps Porzingis, which has some clear defensive holes, let's be honest. But Dorian Finney-Smith off the bench, along with not Trey Burke at this point, but Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber. Like, I think they still have pieces where it kind of makes sense. I don't hate the deal for them. And I think offensively it raises their ceiling. Like, the Mavericks 2 years ago were one of the better offensive teams in NBA history, but that took a dip last year. So get a good guy, a good scorer, a good shooter in Markkanen would help you get back to that pace you were at. And just speaking of offensively, a front court with Markkanen and Porzingis would be fantastic. It'd shoot the lights out. It'd be absolutely, spectacular to watch. It'd be very, very fun to watch those guys, running around the perimeter, hitting threes, having 2 7-footers, splashing threes in the perimeter. Would create great spacing for guys. They don't have a lot of slashers, so do they need that spacing is another, kind of discussion there. But I think it opens up the floor for them. It gives them 2 great offensive players. Really 3 great offensive players, I guess, at this point, right? And you have good defenders in Brunson, in Finney-Smith, and Dwight Powell, I think, is a pretty good defender. So you have guys there. And then for the Bulls, you're not adding any new starters, but you're getting that pick. With that last deal, Finney-Smith could start for you. But who knows? Finney-Smith could start for the Mavs as well. They could start Luka at the 1, Tim Hardaway Jr. at the 2, Finney-Smith at the 3, and then Lowry and Porzingis. But either way, you're going to have little problems defensively, and in just terms of ability to have the guys move their feet and defend guys in the perimeter as well, because one of the two would have to play the forward position, and power forwards might just run right by them because they're kind of slow-footed. But very, very good offensively for the Mavs here. I think I'm interested just because of how good it makes your offensive ceiling, and in a West that's a little riddled with injuries, with the Clippers having Kawhi injured, with the Nuggets having Jamal Murray injured. If you think this helps you get a better shot at winning the Western Conference, then you do it. Like, you don't even hesitate. You make this deal because you think it makes you better as a team. And to get Lowry there does raise your offensive ceiling. It just does. And I think at that point you basically have a big 3 of Porzingis, Luka, and Lauri Markkanen, especially if he reaches his potential. He can be a very, very good player in this league. If he gets back to how he was in his second season, we could see a player that is very, very exciting to watch and is very talented. He's still a very talented player, great shooter. I believe he is one of the fastest players to 100 threes ever in NBA history. Like, he is a lights-out shooter at the power forward position. And honestly isn't a bad fit. There's going to be people bringing the race thing into it with three three white guys there in Luka, Porzingis, and Lauri Markkanen. But more than that, I think it's Cuban as like an infatuation with international guys, especially after Dirk Nowitzki worked out so well. He's really into getting those international players on his team, and I can't blame him. Like, he's getting good shooters, he's getting tall players. I like Lauri, I like Porzingis, I like Luka, so I think it makes sense to get those guys. And I think bringing race into it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I don't want to touch on that too much. That feels like a touchy subject that I don't want to get into. But yeah, so with the Mavs here, you add a score and likely don't have to give up too much, especially if it's a second trade here. I think the Mavs feel really good about this deal. Giving up Finney-Smith they shouldn't do because, you know, it makes them very thin defensively. But if you're the Bulls, getting Finney-Smith makes a ton of sense for you. So let me know what you think, what the Mavs should give up, which one makes more sense. Just let me know what you think of it. Let me know how you like his fit in Dallas. I think it's a little questionable, but could end up working out pretty well for them. So let me know what you think. Also, let me know which player you think should play center between Lauri and Porzingis, because both are kind of that power forward, but can play center kind of role. So let me know what you think there. If you enjoyed the video, think about liking, think about subscribing. We're trying to hit 500 by September. We're up like 60 in the past week. I appreciate the support. It's been great. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. That's it from me. Peace.